The thing I realized about San Pedro is that Pedro knowledge is a commodity here. To know more about Pedro than somebody else is a social status here. It's a strange thing, but it's so true. And there is a hunger for information about this town that I've never experienced in any of the other communities that I did magazines for, in any place I'd ever been, even when I lived in New York. I mean, New York's different. I always compare Pedro to New York because to me, they are very similar places. There's a passion for it, for each. The people that are from there bleed it. They love it. It's a part of their life. It's a part of their identity. You don't find that in many places. You know, not to like bring other towns down, but I did magazines when I was at the Press Telegram for Downey, for Belmont Shore, for Seal Beach. Wonderful communities, all of them. But their population doesn't necessarily care about their heritage there. You know, they ended up where they're at. There really isn't like a hunger for it. Because we are so multi-generational here, because there is such a deep-rooted family nest here, it's different. It's personal. Your father met my father, or knew my uncle, or saw or married my cousin, or you know, all those family trails that lead through so many different people here. If you were to look at it on a map, it would look like the craziest yarn ball you'd ever see. But it exists, and it's just something that you can't explain to people who, it's really tough to explain to people who just don't experience it. And that uniqueness about San Pedro is one of the reasons, you know, why I've been honored to continue telling the stories in San Pedro Today, but also, you know, I've taken over the leadership of the San Pedro Heritage Museum that was founded by one of my best friends, Angela Romero. People knew her as Romy. Taking over her duties with the Heritage Museum has been another eye-opening experience, because that's opened my door to a portion of town that I haven't really worked with, because Angela was so passionate about San Pedro history. It was her calling. She was doing pro bono work, doing research on the Warner Grand Theater's history, and that sparked her interest in history and delving into San Pedro's history. And next thing you know, she founds this nonprofit called the San Pedro Heritage Museum. And right now, you know, although Angela passed away last year, we're kind of getting everything together and getting everything reorganized, but the goal of the museum is to bring the history of San Pedro to the people. We have a wonderful archives here. That's run by passionate people who love and appreciate this history of this town. But there isn't a place for others to appreciate it. There isn't a place in town where we can show off our history to people who are going to be visiting. We have this wonderful new waterfront redevelopment coming in called West Harbor. And it's going to be bringing in so many people who have never been to San Pedro before. And it would be wonderful to introduce those people, to tell them the history of our waterfront, to tell them the history of where they're at, the people here and whatnot. Show us that, you know, there's a respect factor that comes to that. People, if you learn about the history of some place, there tends to elevate the level of respect you have for it. And I want to see that happen here. We are so passionate, we are so prideful of being San Pedrans. We get it tattooed on our arms, we put stickers on our cars. There is a t-shirt for every establishment in this town, and we wear them without irony. There's some swagger involved with the museum. And I think this town eventually, when we get it going, and you know, we're just in the beginning stages of re-upping it since Angela died, but once we get it going, I do think San Pedrans would be very, very, very attentive and supportive of something like this.